Good afternoon. I'm Paul Baker from Kopin Corporation. Most of you know Kopin for its micro-display technology used in AR and VR headsets. I'm here today to talk to you about voice interface. At Kopin, we actually do a lot of work with our customers on the voice interface for their head-mounted devices. As you know, the world is now in transition, moving away from touch-based interface to voice-based interface. There's lots of clear advantages to why you would want to use a voice interface. It's eyes up and hands free for one, which brings a lot of advantages. It's easier. It's certainly a whole lot safer because you're more aware of your environment around you. You're looking around you and aware of what's going on as opposed to looking down with the device in your hands. It's also a lot faster. We can speak about 4 times faster than we can type. So the benefits there are easier as well. What this means is that the interaction that you have with your device is a lot more natural, a lot more smooth, because you don't have this physical or mechanical barrier between you and what you're trying to input or control on your device. And the world wants a reliable voice interface for its devices, whether it be for personal use on your phones, mobile, IoTs, in your car, or at work. Everybody can use the conveniences of a voice interface. But it's important to recognize that each of these environments that these devices are used in have different acoustic requirements and acoustic conditions. And this becomes really, really important in how we design the products. They need to be designed specifically for the use case and for the environment that they're going to be used in if the interface is going to be effective. If you're anything like me, this is what your relationship with your voice interface looks like today. It's wonderful when it works. It really is amazing. However, it doesn't always work, and that can be incredibly frustrating and really, really disappointing. And unfortunately, that happens all too often. So as we look at speech recognition today, especially in head-worn devices, what do we see in terms of performance? First, in a quiet environment, typically we see accuracy rates, reliability, somewhere around 90%. Depends a little bit on the device itself, but they generally tend to be in the 90% range. Okay. But when you introduce even a little bit of noise into what I would call normal environments that we experience every day, so it could be a restaurant, could be a city street or something like that, the accuracy drops off dramatically. Anywhere we see in our measures, anywhere between 40 and 80% is typical. So, is that good? If you look back a couple years, it's certainly a whole lot better than it was. But really, what other products would you say today, yeah, it's okay if it fails 10% of the time? You wouldn't. So it's got to get better than it is today. And typically, what people point at first are the speech engine. It must be the speech engine. There are lots of speech engines out there. You know the names of them all very well. But I'm here to tell you the problem is not the speech engine. Where the problem really resides is in noise, in how noise is designed for and how noise is managed. So let's step back for a minute and look at what is required for customers to love their voice interface with their products. It really boils down to 2 things. So the first is a great product design. If this is something that I'm wearing on my head, if it looks kind of goofy or if it looks like it's technology on my head, I'm not going to wear it. So as you heard earlier at the very beginning of this block, human first, technology second. It's got to follow that rule. The second is reliability. If it's not reliable, what's the point? If I'm sending a voice text message, for example, and after I've spoken, I have to then check it, and if there's mistakes, correct it manually, then what's the point in having a voice interface to begin with? So the question that we really need to ask ourselves is, how do we design the voice systems in our devices so that our customers will love the experience that they get with the voice interface? So in our working with our customers, we see consistently two areas where things fall apart. So the first is on the acoustic design of the device itself, and the second is on what we call noise management. So it's not just noise cancellation, it's noise management. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So first on the acoustic design. The first and foremost is to recognize this is a system, and it needs to be designed as a system from the very beginning. As you look at the performance that you're trying to get from the voice interface in the design of the product, those two things often work at odds with each other, and so it's important to think them through thoroughly up front. Design the whole thing from the beginning with the performance that you need in the acoustic environment that it's going to be operating in mind. It's not just an assembly of audio components. We see it again and again, the mindset that you can just pull the components together and make it perform well. That's not how it works. And so, as I said, getting the balance right between a great ID that customers will accept and will wear on their head and getting the audio or voice performance that the device needs for consumers to embrace it and use it is really, really hard. As I said, those two things are often opposed to each other. So don't worry, I'm not going to go through all this. But this is just a list of some of the things that need to be taken into consideration when designing a device, you know, whether it's hearables or smart glasses or whatever that have a voice interface. And the point that I really want to make is there's a lot to think through up front. It is a system, and it's really important that you get all of the team members on board right from the get-go and get their input right from the get-go. So yes, you need the acoustic people, you need the ID people, you need the product managers who are going to be really bringing to the table the understanding of what environment our customer is going to be using this in and what are the issues that they're going to face when using it. You need, obviously, the mechanical people and the EE people involved as well to plan it all out up front, understand the issues and the trade-offs that you have to make in bringing the product to market, and plan it, test it, and you're going to have to revise it in most cases. It's not going to be right the first cycle through. The second issue that I mentioned before is what we call noise management. Most people like to think of it simplistically as noise cancellation, but it's a little more than that. So what we see with noise management today is that generally the systems fail. They're largely designed around human-to-human voice rather than human-to-machine voice. And so some of the misconceptions that we see are the mindset that higher SNR always will bring better speech recognition. That's not the case. Often it does improve speech recognition, but there are a number of other factors involved as well. And likewise, the notion that better voice for human-to-human communication also leads to better speech recognition performance. It doesn't necessarily. So typically what we see is that today's noise cancellation, it does create higher signal-to-noise ratio, and often that is better for human-to-human listening, but it often introduces some distortion to the voice signal, and that distortion really causes problem for the speech engines and confuses the speech engines. So at Kopin, we've developed a technology that we call the Whisper voice extraction. It's specifically designed to improve the performance of speech recognition in any type of device. What we find when we compare it to today's solution is typically it can improve the performance and reduce the error rate of speech recognition anywhere from 2 to 4 times, depending on the specifics of the product and the noise environment that you're operating in. But as I said, it's designed really for use in the real world with real world noise. It works with any speech engine, any operating system, any processor platform. We don't care. And I'm not going to get into all of this, but the main point is that our approach with Whisper voice extraction is different than others in the marketplace today. We use a dynamic analysis of the acoustic environment that the device is operating in to be able to distinguish between the voice and the noise by using a simultaneous combination of time domain, frequency domain, and spatial domain. And the result of that is that we're able to identify which is the voice signal in essentially to extract that from the noise environment that it's in and just simply leave the noise behind without modifying the voice signal itself. And so what we're able to do then is feed the speech engines a nice, clean, linear voice signal. As I mentioned before, when I was talking about the speech engines, they do their job when you give them a good voice signal. So a little while ago, the chief scientist at Baidu said, as speech recognition accuracy goes from, say, 95% to 99%, all of us in this room will go from barely using it today to using it all the time. Most people underestimate the difference between 95% and 99%. And I couldn't agree with him more. So if you want to take your relationship with your voice interface from something that looks like this to something that looks more like this, please come see us and talk to us. We can certainly help. Thank you very much.